I was right between two leftover resin charm builds when my buzzy brain decided to find out if expired resin could be cast successfully in resin. Some ideas hit, other missed, but it was a massive learning curve. Extra leftover resin after a pour is usually nearing the end of its working time and turning into sticky honey fast. That's when things get wild. I totally go with the flow, picking up colors and materials in my line of sight. Other times, I just line molds with clear resin like this mold where I couldn't even cover the whole surface. I'm adding some holographic glitter because I have some dark resin mix left over from my Phoenix project and I wanted a material which can benefit from the contrast of a dark background. I think this combination of black and green will have a nice synergy. It's dark yet soothing. This will be the base on which I'll keep building the charm in layers as I come by extra leftover resin. After curing, there is still some space left, which I'll use to add a layer that will serve as the background for this side. I almost mixed the wrong colors, but thankfully I came to my senses and course corrected with this chameleon pigment. In cases like these, I don't really have an end goal. I just keep layering in a way that feels right visually, or when I'm testing out a technique or combination of materials to add to the resin. This extra is also from my Book of Phoenix project, where I used gold foil and clear resin to cast the pages. But I've also been planning to use this expired saffron from my kitchen. It's red and looks like a dried flower. So I wanted to see if it would behave like one in resin, or if it would bleed its red color into the mix, the way it does in food. These eco-resin earrings had 2 spaces left, but the shape wasn't vibing with this mix, so I changed my mind. Luckily, I managed to find this guitar pick shape mold just in time. It is perfect. I think the resin mix volume will fit almost entirely into the mold without any wastage. Gold and saffron was a good call. They are working really well together. I'm so curious to see how this cures. Will the resin stay clear? Will bubbles get trapped and ruin it? Or will the saffron float and leave a clear layer underneath? Now I can finally mix the resin which I had accidentally almost used for the mermaid tail charm earlier. Again, the idea is to muffle the visual texture so that any embeds on this side will pop more easily against this background. These shapes make for fantastic charms. They are rounded and soft, but at this point, I had still not decided what to do on this side once cured. So, when this World Music Day collab was announced, I was immediately inspired with an idea on how to complete this piece. I printed these notes on simple paper from an image I found online and cut out the ones I wanted to use. To keep these delicate shapes from ripping, I backed the paper with tape before cutting out the notes for our stencils. Sticky tape is tricky to cut without a perfect edge. My blade is nicked, so I'm snapping off the tip for a fresh sharp point to tackle this paper. Let's carve these notes out. Once I was done carving the notes out, I brushed the surface of the charms with a thin film of resin and placed my treble clef, which is a positive stencil, making sure it was well centered within the canvas. Then I dusted it with a matching glitter that looked fantastic at first, but it turned out to be a colossal misjudgment, as you'll see in a bit. Once the glitter coverage looked good, I removed the mask and cured the surface under UV light. Loving the texture difference between the glitter and the treble clef outline. I have started collecting stray glitter. It will be years before I have enough here to use, but it's a step in the right direction. This cutout will also come in handy in some other project in the future. It was looking really cool at this stage, so feeling good about my handiwork, I added a sealing coat to complete the piece. Do you see what happened? Well, of course you don't, because I can't either. The design was only visible because of the texture contrast between the rough glitter and the smooth resin. Now that the top coat has evened it out, the holographic background has completely killed the depth. In hindsight, the center should have remained black. But when I cast that clear resin center earlier, I was actually planning to embed a metallic charm, a proven technique I had used for my North Star pendant in a previous project. Because the positive stencil hack was a spontaneous pivot, I didn't realize it would need that dark contrast to survive the top coat. But this side over here looks awesome, so I'm going to rewrite the story of this charm. Let's say it belongs to a gentle dragon who has a secret musical talent. Only you and I know that the treble clef now exists hidden in the very heart of this charm. What a wonderful secret to share. I'm using the same technique for the saffron guitar pick, but this time I'm using the negative stencils of these quiver notes. The background won't be an issue here. I've already evened out the light and shadow play of the saffron resin casting with a matching even tone top coat. The glitter I've chosen will also provide a pleasing contrast against the background. Now that the glittery notes are in place, a few stray flakes give it a beautiful buoyant look, almost as if they are floating in the wind. We'll demold this piece once this glitter is sealed with UV resin. I hope this experiment works out, because if it does, I already have a ton of ideas all lined up on how to use expired saffron from my kitchen in resin projects. This combination of saffron and gold is an absolute hit. They work beautifully together. The resin stayed perfectly clear without any unwanted tinting, and I'm so glad this worked out. This side has a bit of a raised edge profile and the UV top coat has a few ripples. I'm never happy with UV doming, but it is possible that I'm doing something wrong. Maybe the UV lamp is too strong, or maybe my unbranded UV resin is not of a great quality. So I'm going to sand it down and prep the surface before the final sealing top coat. Finally, an epoxy top coat for that ripple-free glass smooth finish. This project is part of the wonderful collaboration for World Music Day 2026, organized by the Dragon's Cave and Nerd Goblin Art. The link to the playlist filled with inspired ideas by other artists is in the description, so do check it out. The verdict is in. Saffron in resin rocks. And just in case you're wondering why on earth I happen to have a giant unused expired bottle of saffron sitting in my pantry, not so funny story, I only learned the truth after opening it. It was nothing like actual saffron, so it went completely unused for cooking and just ended up expiring. In fact, I discovered literally while editing this part of the video that this stuff wasn't saffron at all. No wonder it was so darn cheap and had a funny smell. But as it turns out, it makes a brilliant resin filler anyway. I will definitely continue to be on the lookout for cool household stuff to add to resin. I hope this was a fun watch. Continue experimenting and don't let any resin go to waste. Happy crafting and have a wonderful day.